Well, folks, this is a little update on the continuing story of the Yamaha Diversion 600. Following a message I received from Paul Messenger, he sent me a link to how to get the cam box cover off to check the valve clearances on the bike. And so that's exactly what I've done. And I just thought I'd post this. So this picture shows the fuel tank off and the seat off and everything, and in order to get the cam box cover off, the carbs have to come off, which is not an issue. I put new manifolds on anyway, so it's easy enough to do. So there's the carburetors. Now you'll notice I've put stainless steel Allen bolts on the float bowls. That was while they're in situ, and you can see there's 8 crosshead screws that hold the sort of retaining bar, which I've also replaced with stainless. Now you could say, why bother? Well, yeah, I know, it's nice to ride along knowing that all your bolts are stainless, if you're me. So it's a question of taking the bank of carbs off, removing the cam box cover, and then checking the valve clearances, which is detailed, in the Haynes manual. It tells you what shims you need and all that. So I thought, having done loads of shims on other bikes, great, I'm going to do this. However, the plot thickens, as you'll find out if you can watch to the end of this video. So that's with the carburetor mouths visible with the airbox off. So while I was at it, I started the engine on the remote tank and checked that those slides were moving them down properly, because I did think, as I said in the previous video, I thought maybe carb number 4 on the extreme right there wasn't working, but it is. So it was the gauge actually. So I was able to sort of check that. You'll see there's a kind of rubber thing. I'm not entirely sure what it's for. I presume it's just to stop filth going on the engine, maybe, on the carbs. Anyway, I've taken it off and given it a good clean. And obviously, the next step, having got the carbs off, you can see the new inlet rubbers, is block them off. Because on this bike, the inlet manifolds are vertical. Now, Sod's Law says that you're going to be holding a screw or a bit of metal or heaven knows what, and you're going to drop it, and it's going to bounce off that rocker cover, not the rocker, the inlet manifold, and it's going to bounce straight in and land inside one of your cylinders. So the first thing I did was block those inlet manifolds off with tissue paper. Absolutely vital to do that, in my opinion, on carbs like this, especially pointing upwards. Crikey O'Reilly. So there's the cam box cover off. Now if you look at this, you can see that I didn't realise this bike has like a Hyvo cam chain, so it's not like a linked one, like a drive chain. It's a Hyvo chain, and if you look at the cam lobes, they're in perfect condition. They're absolutely mint. So I've checked the clearances and found that of the 8, because it's an 8-valve engine, 3 are definitely out of spec, and the other 5 are kind of, on the edge. So I think they all need doing. Now my plan, like on many other bikes, was to do it myself using a valve bucket compressing tool to get the shims out, measure the shims. So you get the clearance, then you measure the shim, and you look at your little chart, and it tells you what to do, what shim you need to replace it with. That's another view of the chain and the sprocket there. However, I bought the Yamaha special tool from eBay. I've ended up sending it back for a refund. It was 15 quid, and it's complete garbage. It does not at all depress the bucket that holds the shims, and I don't like the idea of using a cable tie as per the video that Paul sent me, putting a cable tie in through the plug hole and basically jamming the valve open so you can get the shim out. I mean, yeah, you could probably do that on the 2 outer cylinders, but the inner 2, mucking about with the cable tie. And again, I just don't think, I don't want to risk having a bit of cable tie stuck in my valve. The person that put the video on the internet, nice that he's done that, said it's always worked for me. Well, yeah. But, you know, putting a cable tie in or something to wedge your valve open, to me, does not appeal to me. So there's the tool not working. There's the bank of carbs off. So what I've decided to do, you can call me a chicken, you can say, oh, you should do it yourself. I am going to take the bike on the 30th of September to a local motorcycle engineer place, and he's going to do the shims for me for £100. But it was £14 for that tool that's rubbish, plus it's £5 a shim to buy. £100 is going to sort it. So I'm just doing it that way. Yeah, I could do it myself if I really persevered, but you know, well, I just don't want to do it. Now feel free to say, you're a chicken, James Slick, you should do it yourself. Yeah, I've done it on countless bikes, loads of them, at least 10, with a decent way of holding the valve shim bucket down and getting the shims out. But this one, no. And that's the proper Yamaha tool. So anyway, I've got the carbs off, so I thought, while I've got the carbs off, I'm going to replace all these crosshead screws with Allen bolts, stainless ones, available at, you know, very little cost. Now look at the difference there, you see. Like I say, you could argue why bother doing it, because you can't see them under the bike, but it's kind of nice riding along knowing that you've got all your manky old crosshead screws, galvanised ones, replaced with those, and it does make any future maintenance more easy. So that's the actual brackets that hold all the carbs together with stainless bolts on them. Now again, a big thank you to Paul Messenger, who put me onto the Japanese industry standard JIS screwdrivers, because all of these screws came out so easily. I mean, they were really tight, but using the JIS screwdrivers, no slipping, no chewing up, nothing. They all came out. And as you can see in this next picture, that's the old screws versus the stainless Allen bolts. I don't honestly think those screws would have come out with a Phillips screwdriver at all, actually. And Paul did say that to me. You know, it looks similar, but they're not. Definitely not. So I just used a little short stubby screwdriver and got them all out. So I did all the float bowls like that. You can see all the Allen bolts in them. So I thought, well, I did a previous video and said, you know, I'm not taking the float bowls off because I can't get the carbs off, and you know, and I bought carb rebuild kits for these carburetors, allegedly for the XJ600 Diversion S, which is what mine is. So having got the carb bank off in order to get the cam box cover off in order to check the valve clearances, I thought I may as well have a look at what's inside those carb float bowls. So you can see there's another picture of the stainless Allen bolts holding the sort of retaining brackets together. So yeah, I thought, well, I'm going to get the float bowls off because I know I'd sprayed them out. You know, I did in a previous video. I sort of undid the drain screws on the float bowls and squirted masses of carb cleaner in there, which came out pretty clean, I thought. So look at this next picture. I took one bowl off. Now, one is going to be all of them, in my opinion. That's absolutely pristine. It's mint. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing in there. So having removed one float bowl easily, because it's got Allen bolts on and not those crossheads, and found it to be absolutely clean, I thought, well, they're all going to be like that. You know, you're not going to get one carb full of filth and the other three not. So I thought, you know, let's have a look at the actual jets and the floats and everything. And this next picture shows that. You know, it's absolutely pristinely clean inside. Now that could be because I sprayed loads of carb cleaner in there. I don't think it is. I think if there'd been residue in there, I don't, you know, like solid stuff, you know, that you need to scrape out. So I don't know why they're so clean. Anyway, the bike's done 40,000. They are really clean. So I looked at the kits I bought. Now they include a new float needle, spring and all that kind of thing. However, there is a school of thought that says you're better off leaving the original Mikuni jets and Mikuni float needles and everything if you can. Just leave them, because the modern replicas are not as good, and I do hold to that view, to be honest. But I bought it for the seal. So there's these 4 kits I got off eBay, and they are allegedly for the XJ600 Diversion S. And they're completely wrong. Totally and utterly not correct. Nothing about them is correct. Not the rubber seals, not the idle jet screw thing, none of it. Completely and utterly wrong. I mean, they were 12 quid. The eBay seller's going to get them back because he said, yeah, they're correct for your bike. Well, they're obviously not. So I think looking at my carburetors, I'm perfectly happy with how they are. I'm perfectly happy with how clean they are. They're obviously running fine. I've got some more Allen bolts on the way for the carburetor tops, but there's another view of the bottoms again. They're a lot better once you get the stainless Allen bolts in there. They are a lot better, aren't they? So they've got new slides. Nothing new inside. I didn't even use the needles that came with the carb diaphragms. Again, on the same principle that you're better off with the original Mikuni ones. So I'm happy with the diaphragms though, for what they cost, which is next to nothing. So that's it. So I've chickened out on the valve shims. Mainly because the special tool doesn't work. So I'm going to take it in, pay 100 quid and get him to do it. And it'll be an easy job for him. He's going to take the camshafts off and all that. But I don't have the mental energy at the moment to be taking camshafts off and maybe messing it all up and blowing the engine up. I just haven't got the mental energy for it. So I think sometimes you have to bend with the wind a bit, and so I'll be getting my bike ramp out, my antiquated pickup truck, and taking it through on the 30th of September. Get him to do the valve shims and then put it back together, and that'll be it. So let me know what you think. Tell me if you think I'm a coward. Tell me if you think I'm being wise. Try not to be too insulting. And in the meantime, take care on your bikes, and I will post again soon. Bye for now.